don't remember asking you a goddamn thing.
So you know somebody doesn't respect you. They listen to reply, not to be understood. They cut you off. They minimize what actually matters to you. They laugh at your boundaries, and then they call you sensitive when you try to hold the line. They show up late, they cancel last minute, forget the things you've told them, because in their world, your time, your energy, even your voice aren't a priority. They're just an option. You see, there are two kinds of people. Those who adjust when they realize they've actually hurt you, and those who expect you to adjust so they don't have to change. You don't need to be disrespected loudly to be disrespected deeply. Sometimes you'll see it. It's just in their tone, in their patterns, in the silence after you're known. Respect isn't what they say when they're watching. It's how they act when they think you'll tolerate it.
Mantra, slave song, slave ship, rip skin, maybe rip bones. But no matter how close I am, my ancestors speak. They tell me the tide isn't right on us like we're weak. I haven't been getting sleep. Longing to sing until I surpass peak. Until they think we are equal, please. All I want is peace. My ancestors beat drums until their bones would bleed. Begging a generation to remember our story.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Peace and blessings to the people. Glory, praise, and honor to the Most High. I hope all is well. Shout out to my poets, writers, content creators. I had to jump on just a little early because there's a lot to cover, and I want to get this out piece by piece. Brandon should be joining me here in a few minutes, but I wanted to get this out real quick because it just dropped. The findings for Nolen Wales' autopsy. This is going to trigger a lot of people, and this is about to create a whole new stream of conversation. You'll see what I'm talking about if you haven't already seen it for yourself. And then I'm going to jump into Nancy Grace jumping in on the stream, or the case herself. There's a lot to go into, man. But I'm gonna shut up. I'm gonna let this clip play. This is from their lawyer. Everybody's been waiting on him for a while now to bring this up. It's here. Let's get into it. I'm gonna shut my mouth. Hold on. Let me bring this up.
Retention of the anterior neck structures during an initial autopsy is a common forensic pathology practice. He was chief medical examiner for 7 years in Washington, D.C., and he said that if they had concern about throat or any fracture or compression of the throat, they too will hold them back. He doesn't know why they held the throat back, but he said the throat was not with the body of Nolen Wales when he received it in Washington, D.C. to perform the second autopsy. He said, nevertheless, a posterior neck dissection performed without review of the anterior neck structures is incomplete. Therefore, this pathologist cannot rule out injury to the neck as a contributor, a cause of death. He said he would need to have the medical examiner in Mississippi allow him to review the throat. That's why he said his autopsy is undetermined pending investigation. Remember, it's about transparency. Because the initial autopsy rightfully removed and dissected each organ, there are additional limitations inherent in the second autopsy of Nolen Wells. The most significant of the limitations was the inability to directly observe the airway and the lungs for water and directly observe the stomach for gastric contents. He said it is very significant as to what the initial forensic scientists who got to review the body when it was recovered. We have heard from our call center people saying the body wasn't waterlogged. Well, we need to know those things. But unfortunately, because the body was decomposed and the organs have already been dissected, those are things we can only get from the initial autopsy. So therefore, again, the manner and cause of death is undetermined until further investigation. We are hopeful that the Mississippi Medical Examiner would give Dr. Mitchell an opportunity to see their photographs and their observations to the condition of Nolen Wells' body closer in time to July 4th. That is very important, and we have to continue to demand transparency, President Johnson. In addition, the original toxicology results have not been received at the time of this report. And we continue to wait for the toxicology to come back because, again, that will be part of the investigation into Nolen Wells' autopsy by Dr. Mitchell. It is significant to note that it's many things that go into toxicology that only Dr. Mitchell would be able to opine upon, and medical experts can opine upon. And he feels the proper place to do that is before a grand jury in a courtroom. And so we would hope that the district attorney would present Dr. Mitchell before the grand jury as well. We want all relevant information to be heard by the grand jury. Lastly, in cases where a death has occurred in or around a body of water, this is important. Lastly, in cases where a death has occurred in or around a body of water with suspicion of drowning, it is important to confirm how that person entered the water. This is the crux of the matter. This information is especially important for those deaths of persons who can swim. As in the case with Nolen Wells, at the time of this report, this forensic pathologist does not know the condition of Nolen Wells. He did not know whether he was conscious or unconscious when he entered the water. He said that would be significant. He said he did not know whether he was forced into the water or unforced into the water. He said that would be significant. So he said the condition of Nolen Wells before he entered the water would be the crux of the matter. It would be of utmost importance to being able to determine a cause and manner of death. He said, definitive circumstances of death are required to determine the manner of death. For these reasons, this pathologist cannot rule out, and let me really call your attention to this. For these reasons, this pathologist cannot rule out if any intervening non-accidental factors contributed to or caused the death of Nolen Wells. Understand, he's saying based on the examination of the body, he cannot rule out foul play. That is significant. With the following questions still outstanding, number one, what were the circumstances that led to Nolen Xavier Wells entering the water? Number two, what was the body position when it was found? We know that a member of the United Cajun Navy said that he was face down and he was fully clothed. Number three, was there water in the airway? Remember, he talked about the lungs and the airways, were they filled with water? Number four, is there any evidence of injuries to the anterior neck structure? We got the autopsy without his neck. We got the body without his neck at the time of the second autopsy. Number five, is there any evidence of any intracranial hemorrhaging? He said that is going to be very significant. Things that he could not observe at autopsy that the initial medical examiner would have been able to observe. Number six, was the composition of what was the composition of the stomach contents? He talks about that being important because when was he found? How long had he been in the water? How long had it been since his last meal? All those things become relevant factors when you're trying to do a thorough and impartial autopsy. And number seven, what are the toxicology report findings? He said the best classification again for the cause and manner of death for Nolen Xavier Wells is undetermined pending investigation. This forensic pathologist reserves the right to review and incorporate additional forensic pathology information into his opinion as it becomes available. He says, the above opinions are expressed to a reasonable degree of medical certainty. Dr. Roger A. Mitchell, July 19, 2026. Tension of the anterior neck structure.
Good morning, man. Blessings to you.
Good morning. How you feeling?
I'm good, bro. I had to play that first because that was fresh off of the presses, man. I was refreshing every hour or so. He kept saying, we're going to have the report. We're going to have the report. We're going to have the report. And there it is. There's a lot to go into, man. First of all, how you feeling? How's your week going so far? Initial thoughts on this whole case. Have you heard about it? How much do you know about it? Just start wherever you want.
I'm gonna talk about my week first. My week is okay so far. I'm supposed to be in New York for a show, but we had a big ass rainstorm. There's flash flood warning, tornado warning, so I couldn't make it. And then I had not heard about this case, so it's my first time hearing about it at all. So I guess I'm about to learn a lot of stuff that's happening.
Yeah, bro. and that's cool. The interesting part about this is there's so many black deaths that go unsolved that get discussed that they don't really get much coverage for. It's really, I wouldn't be surprised if anybody heard about this or not. But this one right here, this is up there with Carmelo Anthony. I don't know if you heard about that one, but maybe you stay away from that type of.
I heard about the Carmelo stuff. Oh no! Okay, I know who it is now. I know what you're talking about.
Nolen Wells, yeah. So from what you heard, like, what do you think about the whole situation? I mean, I've already done a stream on it before. I've done 2.
Yeah.
But everybody has different opinions. Some people are trying to say it's race driven. Some people are saying the parents are using this to make money off of it. Other people are saying it had nothing to do with murder. It's just that he got drunk and he drowned from being intoxicated. Like, there's too many different opinions about it. But what about you? What do you think?
I feel like not towards his friends, but the other people that was out there, because it was way. Hold on, let me close my door. It was a lot of other people out there, that he didn't know. You know what I mean? And I feel like he mixed in with the wrong crowd at the time, and that's how he drowned. Because he was the only black kid out there, the only. And you got like what 60 other white people. He didn't know all them people, so for them it was probably race driven, and they probably was playing a game and see could he swim, and it happened.
Oh, look. Damn. This is a lot, bro. It's a lot. I got another drink that I want to play. This is a recap kind of from Nancy Grace. And then I have another one where she's actually having a conversation with a forensic scientist. And it kind of ties into this first clip I played, because basically what he's saying is the people in Mississippi, they already did their digging, they did their examination, but nobody showed up with no answers. Nobody said anything. You've been sitting on this information for Lord knows how long. When they went to go get a second opinion, all we can tell you is we can't say it was a drowning. We don't have nothing, because the decomposition of the body was already bad as it is, but you excluded certain pieces of the body that would help us to determine more definitively what we're actually dealing with, which is absolutely crazy to me.
Why nobody else drowned?
Good question.
And it's Mississippi, so I already know how they roll. So yeah.
Well, look, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna run this next clip, and we can dissect this a little bit more. I don't know. Let's see. This is 13. Like, people, if you know who Nancy Grace is, you know she don't play around with stuff like this. But I'm gonna bring this up here on the big screen, and I'm gonna let it rock out. Hold on a minute.
Gosh.
Missing, his body spotted by the United Cajun Navy, washed ashore. We have obtained that photo. We are choosing tonight not to show it. That last sound from our friends at NBC joining me in all-star panel, but first straight out to Todd Terrell, representing the United Cajun Navy, participating in the water search for Nolen Wells. Todd, thank you for being with us. What did you observe?
You know, Horn Island, that area right there is an area that we have seaplanes that we operate back and forth to the island, taking people back and forth fishing, or oil field workers, you know, back off to rigs and stuff. That morning, the body was observed on the northwest portion of Horn Island, which is not unusual for someone to drown and be washed up in that area. There was a park ranger that was on the island that actually had spotted the body, and we were calling in down to law enforcement officials on the ground what we saw from the air.
Todd Terrell, joining us from the United Cajun Navy, called in to participate in the water search for this young star athlete, Nolen, around his death. How is it that a group of his friends go out on a boat? They go to a remote Horn Island. There is nobody there. It's uninhabited. There are no phones. There are no bathrooms. It's just a hangout place. How does he end up dead on the shore and everybody else makes it back? I want you to hear one more time what the group is saying about that day.
They met that day, and it was kind of one of those things. It did come off that day that he really did like her, but that was the only time they've ever hung out, was at Horn Island on July 4th.
From our friends at GMA, who is she? Where is she? What, if anything, did she have to do, if there is a she, with Nolen's death? That's from our friends at GMA. Back to you, Todd Terrell. And I'm about to go to Caitlin Becker, senior national correspondent, New York Post, on the story from the get-go. Todd, you stated to me that it's, quote, not unusual for bodies to wash ashore in that spot. What do you mean by that? Because if it was that common, wouldn't this be designated a dangerous area and there would be warning signs? What do you mean it's not unusual? I find that hard to believe.
Well, many areas along the coast of the whole Gulf Coast area is a dangerous area. You know, I don't believe they could put up signs anywhere. I think it should be known that these are bad areas. The rip current is very bad in that northwestern portion. We call it the washing machine, actually. It's an area where the current just rolls round and round in there, kind of like a washing machine. And one of the interesting things was where Nolen was found was probably pretty close to where the incident occurred. So the body didn't go that far.
Okay, what incident? Was there an incident? Are you suggesting Todd Terrell, joining us tonight from the United Cajun Navy, our friends, by the way, at the United Cajun Navy? They are called in on many, many missing persons case. Todd, you stated the incident. What incident? You mean he didn't drown?
We're saying that whatever happened, we're calling an incident. Our job as United Cajun Navy is to bring people home back to their families, first of all, alive. Second of all, recover the body if possible. We knew in this case, the time frame that was involved, that we were looking for a recovery at this point. But when I said the incident, something happened to make Nolen not be with us anymore. It appears as though it was a drowning. You know, there was a lot of rumors about him being brought back to the land 10 miles away and you know, brought back out there and jumped off. I don't believe any of that is true. Whatever happened in that water, we're calling the incident. You know, the water goes from 2 to 3 foot to like 20 feet real quick. You know, there was some underage kids out there drinking. It's an island, you know, there's no IDs being checked or anything like that. So when we said an incident, there's anything that could have happened. And not every person that drowns do you hear screaming and hooping and hollering. But at this point, our job was to bring Nolen home, and we did that.
What was observed? Guys, you're seeing right now from our friends at the United Cajun Navy, the video taken from their aerial craft. On the beach, you see a grouping of individuals. Now, from another source, we have obtained photos of Nolen's body that we are not showing. It's just not right. But I can tell you, when you see that grouping of people on the beach, they look like little ant figures from this high up above, but that is where Nolen's body is. They're standing around it. As I recall, Todd Terrell, Nolen was face down, still fully clothed on the beach. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. He was face down which would have meant that he drowned. Now, when we say he was found fully clothed on the beach, it was in the vicinity of where he possibly drowned, you know, right there. So it was not uncommon for the body to have washed up right there. That being said, that area full of rip currents really strong right there goes from 2 to 3 foot to 20 feet pretty much within a couple steps. So that being said, whatever happened really, really close to where the body was found.
You know, Todd Terrell, I don't mean to be giving you a hard time. This is not about you. The United Cajun Navy are the protagonist in this scenario. You're the good guys. I've just got so many questions about how this happened. Was there anyone else on Horn Island when Nolen's body was found?
Now, there was the park ranger was out there, and there was some law enforcement officials that actually had their boats anchored out there. You know, they were kind of like waiting around for a call of what to do. What people don't realize is when you're looking for a body on the water, especially in the Gulf where you have waves going and you have white caps, it's a little bit harder to see. When you're in a boat, you can only kind of see the vicinity around you. So when we put these seaplanes up in the air, we can get a much more visual of a much more bigger area. And these seaplanes can go low and slow. So what we do is we stay in contact with the officials on the ground and tell them what we see. And if they see something too, they can relay it up to us and we can go investigate it. So in this case, there were several law enforcement boats that were just kind of hanging out in the area on the island. And there was numerous other boats in the area, you know, circling and looking. But the body was found by a park ranger as it washed up on the beach.
You know, I'm very curious, Todd. Guys, joining us, Todd Terrell with United Cajun Navy. When I said, was anyone else on the island when Nolen's body was found? Your answer was completely 100% accurate, but let me rephrase and refine my question. You're saying the park ranger found him. That leads me to believe there were no friends. There was no newly met girlfriend. So am I left to believe that he goes out swimming all on his own and the friend girl leaves, the mates from school leave, everybody just leaves him out in the water and he dies and then just conveniently washes ashore? Somebody just left him out in the water? Does that make sense to you, Todd Terrell?
Well, you know, being a person that goes to this island and several other areas that you can only get to by boat. We have some restaurants and bars in Louisiana that you can only get to by boat, which means you have to hitch a ride with somebody on a boat or that has a boat to get there, which a lot of things could go wrong in that scenario. But as far as what we believe, I believe that Nolen went out there with a group of friends. They were friendly, obviously so, because he was even out there. I mean, you got to understand, to go to an island, you have to have a boat, which means you have to have friends, which you have to have people that kind of like you to even bring you out there. So when Nolen got out there, the group of guys he was with, you know, they decided to come in a little bit earlier. They were having some engine trouble on their boat, which is not uncommon. Happens a lot. Nolen, for whatever reason, decided to stay on the island, which is not uncommon. He could have, you know, had this girl he was talking to. He could have just, for whatever reason, decided to stay. Not uncommon. That doesn't give us any reason to think foul play or anything was involved there. The issue is when he stayed on the island, he had to hitch a ride back in with somebody. And there's where the issue becomes. Who did he hitch a ride back in exactly? How were these people connected to him? How did they know him? And it's not uncommon for you not to know somebody at all and just say, hey, I need to ride back in. And they say, yeah, come on, get in the boat with us. So if I say, hey, Nancy, come on, get in the boat with us, that means at that point, we're responsible for you.
But Todd, here's my issue. Again, I agree with what you said, but the critical moment is somebody had to leave him there alone for the rest of the scenario that you're describing to unfold. He had to be alone. And Todd, and I'm going to bring in the rest of the panel. I want you to hear this.
I'm gonna stop it right there. Like I said, man, people were trying to blame it on drowning. I mean, everybody got so many different opinions about this case, man. My original assessment was his friends set him up. He thought they were his friends. They took him to a certain and they left him behind. Now there's other pieces to this that are extremely disturbing to me because they introduced Katie. Katie is the girl that he met there. Didn't know her very long, and apparently her story versus the friend story, they don't align either. And on top of that, Nolen was with her and her dad on his boat, but the dad said that he was nowhere near that island. So
It sounds like a cover up.
it does, doesn't it?
That's all they do. And first of all, I would never leave my friends nowhere, like by themselves for a long time. I don't care what grade, high school, middle school I'm in. Like we all came together, we all leave together. What you do when you get back, that's what you do. But we came out here.
That's exactly what I said. Who like we going? First of all, I've never been here before. Maybe you have, but you really think that I'm about to go somewhere I'm unfamiliar with, and I'm going to leave you to figure it out?
Right.
This ain't a bar. This ain't a club. Or not, even then, it's like knowing how the way the world is now. Nah.
No, for real.
Now, from what you heard from that conversation between her and the guy, and the next one I'm gonna play is gonna tie back into the first drink. It sound like what you said. It sound like a cover up. Sound like people got paid off. All them dudes took their social media down. The dad of Katie got rid of his social media. Why are you doing all that if you have nothing to hide?
And see, my fault. No, see, I feel like they put the social media down because everybody was attacking them. And that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna attack. But it's like, why did I leave him? That's the point. That's the main thing. Why did you leave? Can we go through phone records? Can we go through? Everybody had a camera. Everybody had a phone. So somebody recorded something. Something got recorded somewhere. They just got to find it.
And that's my issue. Why did you shut down your social media? I mean, yeah, you're gonna get trolled. Yeah, people are gonna be pissed. I'm about what's right and wrong. I don't really care about the racial stuff.
Yeah.
If that's a part of the issue here, and are we looking at his friends, or are we looking at the dad because the dad didn't like that a black kid was dealing with or talking to his white daughter? Or was it just something completely different? Everything that I'm hearing is telling me that there was something really foul going on here. And going back to what you said, y'all left him.
Yeah.
You left him. How does he end up in the water and nobody's around?
How did nobody see him? He's the only black person. He's like the only black person over there.
It's like, all right, so y'all telling me this is the excuse that I'm gathering. Y'all was partying, and he decided he was just going to stay back by himself.
Right, underage and drunk. I don't believe he was drunk, to be honest. That's me.
I don't even. Especially when Crump, he says there's nothing that suggests or supports that he was under any type of influence at all.
Right.
We don't even have enough to say that he drowned. But this is what y'all trying to tell us. This is the narrative. He drowned. And then, not to mention, oh shit, I forgot about this. There's another clip. I gotta play that before I play this. There are two black African American women who they get online and they say that when they brought Nolen Wills to Washington, D.C. to get the second look, they basically said it looked like his body was burnt. It looked like they had did some things to him, and that his body was face down in the van, the ambulance, which is ultimate disrespect. So if what they're saying is true, you tampered with the body before it made it to Washington, D.C. to get the second look. Crump goes on, makes a spectacle of it. People are saying, oh, he's just using this as a way to monetize off of it, or he's using it for political reason and things of that nature. What, like, do you think the parents are in this for money? Do you think that all of this case is about political gain, positioning, power, creating false narratives? Like,
I'm not sure about that, but I feel like sometimes people do get greedy when they think about the money part. But like I'm not sure. And also, talk about the order, you're never supposed to be face down. You're supposed to be back up. They're supposed to be pushing lungs, pushing stomach, get the fluids out. Nobody done that. Why is he face down? Even ambulance, you never be face down in the ambulance.
exactly. Oh man, I'm gonna play this last drink, and I'm gonna give like my thoughts on it, because this is a perfect example of having discernment, knowing who your friends are,
Right.
Doing your research on where you're going, especially if you're traveling, having proper contacts. I know we like to go places and enjoy ourselves. Like you, for example, you were supposed to head out to NY, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure everybody who needed to know like what was going on, they knew.
Yeah.
Like, you don't just up and just disappear and go places and nobody know what's going on, because anything is possible.
Yeah.
So she's interviewing a forensic expert, and he alludes to drowning as well. But I'm gonna let y'all decide. How do y'all see it? I don't think anybody really believes what they trying to put out there. Hold on.
Dr. Kendall Krause, thank you for being with us. Okay, I don't have a ruling from the medical examiner. It should be apparent if drowning was the COD, cause of death. That should be very apparent by simply autopsying the lungs. Also, you'd know immediately if there were signs of trauma. I've seen the photos of his body on the beach, but as Todd Terrell from United Cajun Navy stated, the body was face down, so I couldn't see the face, the neck, the arms, the hands for defensive wounds. I couldn't see if there were bruises to the torso. I couldn't see if the skull was fractured. None of that. I couldn't see if teeth were missing. But it seems to me if those exhibited, we would know there had been blunt force trauma, stabbing, shooting, manual or ligature asphyxiation. We would know that. But yet, we know nothing. So, to me, that would rule out drowning or trauma. Are they waiting on toxicology? Is that what they're waiting on? And why would the body have been sent for an independent autopsy? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But what's going on, Dr. Kendall Crowns?
Okay, to start with, he was in the water for several days. I'm sure the water in that area is warm, so his body is going to be decomposing. He'll have skin slippage. He's going to have bloating from the decompositional gases, and then purge fluid coming out of his mouth and other orifices. So then you also probably have post-mortem animal scavenging or marine aquatic life scavenging that can create marks on the body as well. So at autopsy, your question, wouldn't you be able to see the evidence of injury? Yes, you should still be able to see injuries, bruises, stab wounds, gunshot wounds, all that, even in decomposition, can still be seen, can still be determined. He doesn't sound like he's been consumed by aquatic life to the point that he's skeletonized in the front of his body. So my assumption is you would still be able to see injuries. Now, they have not given a definitive cause and manner of death yet, because to me, that means there's no obvious signs of injuries or no obvious cause of death. Because drowning, yes, the lungs can swell and be heavy with fluid, but this can also happen with drug overdoses. So differentiating a drowning from a drug overdose is difficult.
No.
So you
No. N-O. Yes.
Well, I don't know how
it
many
would exhibit,
autopsies of
manifest
drownings
in the
you've done,
same.
but I've done a lot. So
Absolutely
continue
zero.
on,
But I
please.
don't need to have my MD or be the lecturer at Burnett School of Medicine to know that if the lungs are full, and it could be drowning or fluid caused
Drug
by an
overdose.
overdose. Can't you get the fluid and test it?
So testing of the fluid from the lungs there's nothing to test for. What you're going to look for is the pulmonary edema or fluid in the lungs. You're going to try and differentiate a drug overdose from drowning with a toxicologic study, which is what they're doing, and that can take up to 6 to 8 weeks. Drowning is a diagnosis of exclusion because it can mimic so many other things, including a drug overdose. You want to rule those things out before you determine cause and manner of death. And that's probably what they're doing. They're making sure he didn't overdose before they make the decision that he drowned. Now, the second autopsy being done, that's just the family obviously has no confidence in the local medical examiner / coroner system, and they've sent it to an independent person to do a second autopsy. Not uncommon, especially in cases that are more high profile or there's some sort of dispute, and they send it to an independent person to do a second autopsy to see what they can find. And from my knowledge, the information on that still isn't out yet. So they're also probably trying to find out what the toxicologic studies are going to show before they make a decision. So right now, we're kind of pending on what drugs he has on board before they make a cause and manner of death statement.
Dr. Kendall Crowns, I understand. And I also understand your explanation regarding the potential drowning fluid in the lungs as opposed to or compared to the fluid in the lungs if there had been an overdose. If he's found right there, face down, it looked to me like in the surf, not out in the water floating, but up on the beach. So even if that was the least of it, the water still would have gone into his nose and mouth. If he were alive, he could have inhaled it or ingested it, even if a drug overdose was the true COD, which would require, I guess, what, Dr. Crowns, a dual finding of drowning and OD. And I'll just state for the record, let it be noted in the record that I have never performed an autopsy, but I'm glad you pointed that out. So, what about the fluid in the lungs if there had been an OD? And by the way, there is no suggestion that drugs were used that day, none whatsoever. But that said, you're saying that there would be no difference in the fluid found in his lungs.
So with a drowning, you're going into heart failure at some point from the anoxia created or the lack of oxygen to the brain created by the drowning, because there's no air and water. And that causes your body to shut down, which causes fluid to back up and causes pulmonary edema or swelling of the lungs. The same process happens in a drug overdose. But when you're drowning and you're inhaling that water, you get water in your lungs as well, but you're also swallowing, gulping it, throwing back up, and then swallowing and gulping it again. So you'll have water in your stomach that you can look for in a drowning, not always. And sometimes you'll get water in an area in your sinus cavity called the sphenoid sinus as well. But the pulmonary edema created by drowning looks exactly like the pulmonary edema created by a drug overdose. So you can't really differentiate the two of those. And that's why the drug testing is so important. And yes, you are correct. If drugs come back on board, like let's just say fentanyl, it would be part 1 drowning, part 2 fentanyl toxicity, and then manner would be accident. So it's going to be a drowning no matter what. But is there going to be a toxicology component added on? And that's probably what they're working on as we speak.
I'm gonna say this. This is just my personal opinion. I don't believe this was a drowning. I said it once, I'm gonna say it again. This was either staged and it was set up like this, or there's a component that is missing and is going under the radar and nobody is really addressing it. Because there's like what I hate about this is it's so jumbled with different information. Because you got people that's going to lie for their friends and protect them.
Yeah.
But then you got other people who got a conscience and they're actually going to tell the truth. Then you got to look at the fact that there's people here that are wealthy and got power, or they know people that can help them out with stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
So what are we really talking about? Are we looking for real answers, or are we looking for an excuse to blame somebody for what happened?
I don't know. I think it's a little bit of both. Of what you stated. I feel like something is missing, and I feel like nobody's gonna know for like a few months what that missing part is. And then I feel like also people are probably getting paid off on the side or getting favored, so the real reasons won't come out. We see it on TV shows. We see how people do. People manipulate stuff, especially when it's their kid. They're like, okay, my kid was out there too with them. I'm make sure he's protected. I'm gonna do whatever I have to do to make sure he's protected. Some parents do that, and I feel like he didn't drown. I feel like they did some stuff. Then after that, then they put him in the water, and then he drowned. Because still at the same day, at the same time, I'm still asking, why did you leave your friend that you brought up?
Yeah, that don't sit right with me at all. I don't understand it. Someone finds him face down in the water.
Yeah.
So what happened between you leaving and him drowning? Allegedly. Because what you're suggesting is, I don't know, I left him. I didn't stay with him.
Right.
Oh, he stayed back with her. We don't know what happened after he left her. But people are so social media starved that y'all post everything that y'all do. You record everything.
Yeah.
So if I go on a trip like that, beautiful water, I'm taking pictures and all. I'm doing my post too.
Mm-hmm.
So again, you get rid of your social media. Nobody has access to it. Your family is a judge. We got a father who lied about being there with Nolen and your daughter. No, y'all left him behind. You left with his phone. And then no matter how y'all feel about Ben Crump, and I do think a lot of this stuff be tasteless. I believe a lot of these people use tragedy like this to make more money and to get through more doors. I don't know if that's what's happening here. If it is, then shame on him and everybody else who does it. But if what I'm hearing is during the first autopsy, his throat is missing. He had red ligament marks on the back of his head, neck, or whatever, and y'all completely dismissed that. Yeah, I don't trust it. I don't trust it at all. I think everybody is following a script, and it's messy because some of you are following the script, and then others, they weren't a part of the conversation, so they're telling the truth, not knowing that they're dry snitching. That's what it sounds like. It feels like to me. I could be wrong.
Not quite right. I just like it's a lot of manipulation going on over here with this case.
Let me ask you a question. Let's say you're the parent. Let's say you're the parent in this particular incident, and people are questioning why you're maneuvering the way you are, challenging whether or not this is for money or this is about you starting a race war, that you really ain't, you're hiding stuff. How do you handle this type of media exposure?
I just like just to be honest with it, just tell the truth. Like if you are, yeah, I mean people not gonna say they are, but I don't know. I feel like if it's my kid, that's my kid. I'm not gonna do no bullshit. I'm gonna make sure I get the right answers that I need and all that stuff. But I feel like also people are gonna throw that out there that this person doing it for money or starting a race play because they need a cover up. So if they use that against them, it could backfire.
Do you have white friends?
Yes.
Do they act like what the narrative is constantly being painted?
What you mean? What aspect?
Every time we hear about someone getting hung or drowned, anything surrounding a black kid, boy or girl, is always directly tied to racism. But we know that's not always the case. Every white person in the world is not racist.
That's right.
That's what I'm referring to. Do they come off like they're KKK members?
No, not at all. Not at all. And
It's like,
then I do got another white friend. Even though she don't talk to her family anymore because she found out her dad used to be in the KKK. So I'm like,
real life. There are people out here that will stand up for what's wrong and what is right.
yeah,
I what I would like is that when people discuss this, they're not doing from a hurt place. We didn't go through slavery. We're dealing with people who have the mindset that they want to keep us in it, but we didn't go through that. That's not our experience. We might have experienced it currently, but if we're going to address these type of topics, we got to be fair on all fronts.
Right.
Everything just looks suspicious to me. I don't know, bro. I don't know. What at the end of the day, God knows. And whatever happened, it'll be justified one way or not, whether or not it's settled here or not. But I don't think he drowned. I don't think it was that. Oh.
Yeah, I don't think it was that. I don't think it was that. Like, and I feel like they've been out there multiple times. I feel like
Originally, I said them boys already knew about that location.
Yeah.
That's why it was so specific. Perfect way to throw the people off and say, look, I'm going to attribute it to it was drowning. There's no cameras out there. Who's going to really say anything?
Right.
Only time will tell. Again, my condolences to the family and all that. I'm gonna say it's very distasteful if you're using this for political gain to make money off of it. When Charleston White started selling Carmelo Anthony shirts, I was done. I was done. Like I'm not. I'll never do no shit like that.
Yeah, never do it like that.
You got anything that you want to say to the people before we go in terms of this case, and everything that you heard?
I feel like I want everybody to be safe out there, and then also watch where you're going, and if you're going somewhere that's different, at least text or message one of your friends where you're going to be at and who you with. That's all you gotta do. You don't gotta leave location. Just
my bad. I just wanted to say, damn sure better not be going anywhere with people you really don't trust like that. That's the crazy part. Y'all be hanging around people you know. It's kind of like, yeah, nah.
Not for real.
Look, man, I appreciate you for pulling up. I appreciate your feedback, your input. And to the people who tapped in, let me know what y'all think about this whole case. Is there foul play? Do you think it was a drowning? Is somebody lying? Let's have an open and honest conversation. We about to get up out of here. Y'all be easy. Have a blessed one. And do me a solid before you go, if you don't mind.
Push the goddamn button.
Peace.
Mantra, slave song, slave ship, rip skin, maybe rip bones. But no matter how close I am, my ancestors speak. They tell me they're tired as a friend on us like we're weak. I haven't been getting sleep. Longing to sing until I surpass peak. Until they think we are equal, please. All I want is peace. My ancestors beat drums until their bones would bleed. Begging that generations remember our story.